I'd never tried an unaged spirit which had so much flavour, and there was all these weird flavours that I wasn't used to, and I was basically hooked straight away.
Welcome to the Lush Life podcast. I'm your drinking companion, Susan Schwartz, and I bring you the how-to guide for living life one cocktail at a time. Thanks to my mother's love of martinis, the first words I spoke were shaken, not stirred, and I've been obsessed by cocktails ever since. Together, we'll learn from bartenders, brand ambassadors, distillers, and others why certain drinks are popular in certain cultures, how to make the perfect old-fashioned, when to shake and when to stir, and so much more. Hear that sound? It's time to cozy up to the bar and let the fun begin. Did you get a chance to catch up on all the episodes you missed last year? No. Well, we're on Spotify now, as well as iTunes and Android. So you can listen to one episode on Spotify and then double back to iTunes and Android just for fun. Keep doing this until you've heard them all, and then come back for new episodes on any platform you desire. 2 weeks of January being dry and cold were enough for me. So now we're heading south to Mexico via London for some very au courant mezcal with our guest today, would-be philosopher-turned-distiller Ben Schroder. After his first taste of mezcal, he was hooked. Enough so that he felt obligated to spread the love to the UK. After we met at the London Mezcal Festival and I took one sip of Pescador, I knew I wanted to hear his story.
So I was studying philosophy at Bristol. I did an undergrad at Bristol, and then I realised the city. I'm from London originally, and Bristol has quite a lot of things which London's lacking in terms of community and sort of being able to walk around and recognise people. So I really love the city. I love the course. I stuck around for another year and did a master's, which is in philosophy of mind. I did that. That was another year and a half on the end, and then I went to Mexico.
Was this just a pleasure trip?
Yeah, I went with, it was actually my friend was studying at university in Havana, in Cuba, and I wanted to go see him. So I went there, and then I was thinking where else I could go nearby, because I was only going to Cuba for a couple of weeks, and it was a very expensive flight, and I went to Mexico, and I didn't know anyone who had been to Mexico at that point. And I kind of went because I didn't know what was there. In my head, Mexico was just like a desert with cactuses and out there getting guys in sombreros, and I was like, there must be more to it than that. Let's go check it out. So I went with my girlfriend.
And how did you know where to start?
We went to Mexico City, rented a car, and then just drove off. We went towards the Caribbean initially, down to Yucatan, Tulum, and places like that, which is quite cool, but it's not really real Mexico. It's quite touristy. We then worked our way across in Chiapas, which is amazing. It's an amazing state. If anyone's going to Mexico, seriously recommend hitting up Chiapas. And then we ended up in Oaxaca, which is where the whole mezcal story began, I guess.
Was this a never-ending trip? Could you take as long as you wanted?
We only had 3 weeks, actually. Oh. It was pretty hectic. We did a lot of driving. It was sort of driving for between 5 and 8 hours a day. And I say we, my girlfriend can't drive. So I was driving for between 5 and 8 hours a day. So it was high paced, but we crammed a lot in.
So just by chance, you ended up in Oaxaca?
Pretty much, yeah. It was pretty much by chance. By that stage, I had tried mezcal along the way a few times, and then in Oaxaca, I got really into it, and we ended up going to a palenque and seeing how they made it, and I just got a bit obsessed. Really.
So you obviously had known about tequila.
I'd known about tequila, but actually I had drunk mostly bad tequila. So I had drunk mostly mixtos, so tequilas which are half tequila, half vodka, basically. I hadn't had any 100% agave tequila.
So bad hangovers.
Exactly, bad hangovers, bit of a dodgy taste. And then it really added to the fact when I first tried mezcal. I mean, when I first tried mezcal, it was an amazing experience because I didn't know what it was.
Did you remember the place?
Yeah. I remember the first place I actually tried it was in Mexico City.
And how were you convinced to try it?
Because I didn't know what to order. Neither me or my girlfriend spoke Spanish. this was a flaw again, not knowing anything about Mexico. We knew they spoke Spanish. We kind of thought they speak English as well. They don't speak English in Mexico. Like, it is just Spanish. So we couldn't really read menus. We couldn't really, ask the bartender or anything. So we just had this one phrase, "¿Qué recomienda?" which means, "What would you recommend?" And that sort of got us by, because whenever we went to a restaurant or a bar, they would just give us a recommendation. So the first bar I went into, I said, "¿Qué recomienda?" And he whips out this sort of dusty, unmarked bottle and pours this clear liquid into 2 glasses and gives it to us. And I had no idea what it was, and I had a sip of it, and it's just this amazing sort of explosion.
That was a huge risk you took.
Yeah.
You were really daring. It could have been something his dad made back in the still.
Yeah, I guess that's all part of it. But yeah, it was just, I'd never tried an unaged spirit which had so much flavour, and there was all these weird flavours that I wasn't used to, and I was basically hooked straight away.
So you took one sip and you knew, like, what is this stuff? This is fabulous.
Pretty much, yeah. It was just, it was not what I was expecting at all. I saw this clear liquid. I kind of knew it was a spirit, but then the flavours, there were so many different flavours there. It tasted nothing like the tequilas that I tried before. I still, to this day, I don't really know what that mezcal was. But yeah, we just had a great night. It was me and my girlfriend, and we just got more and more of them. We just sat there trying to sort of pick out different notes, and nothing quite got the whole of it. And yeah, it was really, really exciting.
Did you know it was mezcal at that point?
I knew it was mezcal. He said mezcal, and we'd read about mezcal in the guidebook. But I didn't know what to expect at all. I guess I expected bad tequila.
Instead, you got really fabulous tequila,
exactly,
something
really fabulous, exciting mezcal. Yeah.
And did you try it all the way? You had that in Mexico City, right?
I had that in Mexico City. So then throughout the journey, we were having mezcal, and that you can get quite good mezcal all over Mexico, but in Oaxaca is where they have the really important bars that have incredible sort of libraries of mezcal.
Is that why you went to Oaxaca?
Partly. We'd heard that the food was great. We heard that mezcal was good. It was kind of on our route. But yeah, I mean, I can't remember quite why we went, but that is what became the main reason to be there.
Well, there are a lot of people who go to Oaxaca and drink mezcal and then go home to their regular jobs. They don't think, let's start making our own.
Yeah, so to be honest, I didn't, when I was there, come up with that idea. What I did do was empty half my suitcase, throw away unimportant clothes and stuff like that, crammed it full of bottles of mezcal, and brought them back to London. And that was about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more. So at that time, a lot of people hadn't heard of mezcal. Mezcal was still quite an unknown thing. I mean, they knew about it in the good bars, but my friends hadn't really heard of it. And I had this bag full of all these wacky mezcals, and I just kept talking about it and sharing it with people, and I really loved this feeling of having this exciting, special thing that no one else had, and watching people's face when they tried it, And some people didn't like it, but some people you just see, like, it totally had that same moment that I had in Mexico City. And I love that, and that's kind of what inspired it, because I wanted to keep going with that feeling of sharing it, and,
Were you ever able to find the mezcals that you brought back at any restaurant or bar in London?
I had one bottle which was branded, but most of the stuff is stuff which has never left Mexico before.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. Stuff that they actually can't even technically call mezcal in Mexico. They have to call it aguardiente de agave, because it's not ticking the right boxes, but it is basically mezcal, but it can't be exported.
So you've given it to all your friends, they think it's absolutely fabulous, but you still don't go back to a normal job. You go and make your own.
No, I mean, that was I mean, I was, as I said, I was just kind of obsessed. I loved that feeling, and I thought I'd give it a go. Like, I kind of I had this idea about getting into the food and drinks industry, and I loved traveling. I loved Mexico, and I was really obsessed with mezcal, so I was like, give it a go, you know.
Did you ever think, well, I'm leaving philosophy behind? Or was that something you just wanted to study and you never planned to have a career in
I think when you do
academia?
philosophy, you expect to leave it behind to a certain extent. There's very few people who are, becoming philosophers. You could choose the academic life. You could be a lecturer, or you could be, a researcher. But I mean, my master's was an MPhil, so it was a research master's. So it was me in the library for a year and a half working on one essay. So I got a flavour for the academic life, and I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
It was
And then
a
one
useful
sip of
experience.
mezcal
Yeah,
later.
exactly. If it's sitting in the library year round, or drinking mezcal, I think that's quite an easy decision to make.
So did you go back to Mexico?
So I went back to Mexico. It took me a year to sort of get the courage to go back, because there are obviously so many good reasons to not do this. So it was sort of like a critical mass of time spent on it until I was like, I've just got to go back. A lot of time playing around with whether I could make it work and how I was going to make it work. Didn't speak Spanish. I didn't know any producers. I didn't know anything about the drinks industry or importing or the finance side, like literally nothing. So there were so many good reasons not to do it. But eventually, yeah. I mean, I think it was an evening with Will, who's my friend, who's involved in the brand as well. And yeah, we just drank some mezcal, and we were like, let's do it. And I just booked some flights. So then I went back that summer.
Did you know where you were going to go?
I knew I was going to go to Oaxaca. Mm-hmm. They make mezcal in 7 different states in Mexico, I think, but I think it is about 90% of mezcal production is in Oaxaca. I knew that I didn't have that much time, so I thought, focus on Oaxaca. It's still a huge place, and that way I can have more chance of meeting more people. Beyond that, there wasn't really a plan.
Now, did you want to find one that hadn't been sold in the UK and bring that over? Or did you want to create your own and put your own stamp on it when you first went over?
The idea was always to create my own. I liked that whole part of it, as well as finding the mezcal. I liked the idea of developing a brand and working on the branding, and creating something which was to an extent my own, and not just being a middleman for someone else's product.
And so tell us how that happened.
So we went to Oaxaca, not really knowing how it was going to work. I took a different friend with me who is a Spanish speaker. It's actually the friend who was working at the university in Havana. So he was my translator, and we just hired a car, and we would just go off to little towns, little villages, and we'd find people who make mezcal, and we'd taste the mezcal, and we'd sort of ask if they would be interested in working with the brand. And finding people was easier than I thought, because it is like everyone in Oaxaca knows someone who makes mezcal.
So it's like a still in every backyard.
It's kind of, yeah. Every village has 1 or 2 stills in it. Everyone's got an uncle or a cousin, or a friend of a friend who makes mezcal. So it was okay. We found people. We mostly were in the Valle Central, which is around Oaxaca City. There's Matatlan, which is the main mezcal producing region. We're mostly in this area because this is where our sort of leads were taking us. And we found a lot of good mezcal. There was nothing which was quite ticking the boxes. There were a couple that were really special, but we couldn't work with them because they were too remote, or they didn't have any of the right licenses with the people.
So it was a taste you were going for.
It was a taste.
You thought, again, I'm putting words in your mouth, but that when I find that taste, that's the one I want to make. Yeah.
I played around with, initially we were thinking about, we need to be able to secure good volume, and we need to make sure that these people, it's going to work logistically and all this. But I realized at some point that this was such a crazy idea, and it was going to be so difficult, that if I didn't really love the product, I wouldn't be able to put up with all the difficulties and the setbacks and stuff like that. And also there was always a backing idea that I'd get a batch, and even if it didn't go well, I would have a lifetime supply of mezcal. So it was really important that the liquid was on point. And it just didn't quite come out of that region. And the tip off eventually happened when we went way further north out of that region, to this little town. I can't remember what it was called, but it was in this really deep gorge in the mountains, in northern Oaxaca. And we arrived at this place at night, and there were some cabañas where we could stay, and then we saw a fire that was nearby. So we went over there, and there were a couple of guys sitting around the fire. So we asked if we could join them. We had some mezcal, so we cracked that out, and then everyone's getting on well. And then we told them about what we were doing, our sort of mission while we were there, and where we'd been. And this old man just turned around and he said, "You guys are getting it wrong." And we were like, "What are we doing wrong?" He's like, "You're in the wrong place. If you want the best mezcal, you've got to go south. It's this town called San Isidro Guiche, and that's the best mezcal." And we were like, "Oh my god, we've got to do that straight away."
Is he kind of a figure that came out of the shadows and then went back into the shadows?
A little bit.
You never saw him again, right?
Was that even a dream? Yeah, no, it was a pretty magical moment.
You're a fairy godfather telling you where to go.
A Mexican fairy godmother.
So next day you were there?
Next day we took the long road south, and we ended up in this town and found this producer, a guy called Atanogenes.
Are you sure he wasn't his brother or something?
It could be. I mean, I don't care, basically. I don't care how it happened, because the results were amazing. The mezcal was incredible. It was exactly what we wanted. It was really, really complex and deep flavors, but also a little bit lighter, a little bit fresher. Something which you could drink all night. It sort of it appealed to the price point of mezcal. Mezcal is expensive, and it fitted that, and it was the full package, basically.
So I don't really understand how it works. So he's making it in his backyard, or does he have a business already?
So he's basically a farmer.
Okay.
Who, one of the things that he does, he makes mezcal. He also grows corn, and he grows beans, and him and his family sell their food, and they also make mezcal, and they sometimes sell the mezcal. So he would be making a couple of batches a year.
About how many bottles is that?
A batch is 400 litres. Sometimes smaller. 400 litres is the maximum he could do. He would do smaller ones as well, because sometimes he would use wild agave. And that would be for the family and for people in the village who would come and just sort of fill up bottles, fill up plastic bottles from these big sort of tanks.
So you're these guys who come into town, drink his mezcal, and say, "We like this so much, we want to make it into a product that we can sell worldwide."
Yeah, so he was pretty freaked out initially.
Then I got it right. That's
it. And he was quite taken aback, because these like two massive gringos just coming down and just being like, we want to turn it into a brand. So we sort of told him about it. We let the idea sit, and we're like, we'll come back tomorrow and sort of talk about it more. And he was up for it. There's a lot. Mezcal has sort of taken off in the international category. He knew other people who had worked with brands, and it had gone well, and they'd sort of been able to sort of change their living situation. So he went for it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you tasted the stuff and you said, "This is it." Then what happens? You come back to London.
So then,
with 400 bottles. I mean, how?
So I came back with just 2 litres the first time, which was not enough, because I didn't end up going back for.
Only 2 litres?
Yeah, only 2 litres. I didn't end up going back for 8 months, something like that. So then I was back in London for 8 months. I thought this was going to be a lot quicker. So when I left, I said, "Make me a batch. We're going to get this shipped in 3 months' time." And he was like, "Okay, let's do it." Came back, did the branding. Everything was sort of going fine, and then I just came, bumped into the Mexican bureaucracy, all the sort of licenses you need, all the different bodies you have to go
So
through.
you went without that?
I went
there was
without
no
it.
business strategy. It was just, let's go try it.
I didn't know about this stuff.
All right. You thought, okay, I'll see you in 6 months. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. I thought everything was going to be really easy. When I first came up with this idea, I was like, simple, just go to Mexico, find some mezcal, send it back. It'll be,
Yeah,
selling it by Christmas.
It.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it'll be easy. And it's actually so complicated.
But you struggled on.
I did. Everything that I constantly came up against things that I thought I wouldn't be able to get around. Most of these agencies require you to have a Mexican bank account, a Mexican address, all of these things. I don't have any of these. So I kept finding ways around it. But yeah, everything took a long time.
And there was never a time when you wanted to not do it?
There were lots of times where I wanted to not do it, but I was committed by then. I'd already put in, a year's worth of time or whatever, and I wasn't gonna drop out basically.
Mm-hmm. So you said a year's worth. Was it a year from the idea to being able to sell here?
So the first batch arrived last week, and I guess it's been more like 2 years.
So I met you about 6 months ago?
Yes.
So a batch hadn't arrived then?
No, so that was, I had gone back out to Mexico and I'd helped with the labelling and bottling, because part of the rules of mezcals, you have to fill your bottles and label them at the distillery. And the guys who make mezcal are farmers. They don't have any bottling equipment, so they didn't really know how that was going to work. So I went back out to help them out with that. And yeah, it was literally a process of filling these bottles with jugs. We just fill the jug with 500 mils of mezcal and then pour it in the bottle. And, it's the first batch is 800 bottles, which by industry standards is nothing at all. But when you fill 800 bottles with jug and then put on 3 labels by hand on 800 bottles, it's a lot of bottles.
And the UK government, fine, come and sell?
They were a lot easier.
Uh-huh.
Still, things that were difficult, import licenses and stuff like that were difficult. But I'd known about that from earlier, so I'd started doing that earlier. So that was alright.
And where do you hope to see Pensador?
So,
or where is it already?
So it's already, in terms of online stores, you can get it at Master of Malt and Whiskey Exchange. It's going to be going into Harvey Nicks. Ivan Dixon, who's a spirit boy there, I met him really early on because he's a big mezcal fan. So he sort of helped us along the way with advice about how he thought he would do it. And then in terms of bars, the idea is to try and sort of approach the top end bars. Mezcal is pretty niche, it's pretty expensive. The better bars, the sort of places where they're pushing it. So yeah, I'm really hoping to see it in some of my
obviously
favorite
Harvey
bars.
Nicks, that's fantastic. And
yeah, it's great.
It means that what you tasted and thought of as delicious, someone else has as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was really nice. So when I met you at the London Mezcal Week tasting event, that was great because that was the first time that other people really had tried it beyond my immediate group of friends, and the feedback was great. I was hearing all the right things. People were picking out the right things about it being, complex but a bit more approachable than some other mezcals. And that was a big moment because until that point it could have just been that everyone's palate's different, and could have hated it. But
so hopefully by next Christmas or next year, it'll be everywhere.
It'll be everywhere. You're not gonna be able to move for Pensador mezcal.
I hope not. But you're making me thirsty now. So let's go pop open a bottle and try it.
Sure, it's that.
After a few sips, Ben explained why he called his mezcal Pensador. I thought y'all should hear it from him. So why the name Pensador?
So Pensador means thinker in Spanish. And the name first came about because we wanted to push against the whole tequila slammer culture which we have in the UK, and really push mezcal as a sipping spirit. So the idea was that you're going to drink it slowly, and you're going to think about the complexities of the flavour and how it was made, and think about what you're drinking, basically. So we had this thinker idea. But at that point we were playing around with a few different names. That was just one of them. And then the distillery that we found in San Isidro Guiche, which had by far the best mezcal, and we're definitely going to work with them. We'd actually already agreed to work with them, and it was when we were looking up where it was to go back the next day that we saw it was on a road called the Calle Pensamientos, which means Thoughts Road. So we just like, that's it, it's got to be Thinker. And
considering you're a philosopher.
There we go, so that comes in a little bit as well. And Will, who's involved, is a writer. He's actually got a novel coming out next year. So there were a lot of things at play. There were a lot of things that came together for Pensator to work.
The thinking person's mezcal.
Exactly.
Romantic, isn't it? The thinking person's mezcal. Thanks so much to Ben for sharing his mezcal and his story. I think that story was the only reason I let Ben substitute mezcal for bourbon in our cocktail of the week. Everyone knows I love bourbon, and to substitute bourbon with another spirit in a tried and true cocktail like the Left Hand was an anathema to me. Until I tried the Mezcal Left Hand, with Pensador, of course. Now you'll find out why I was converted. So combine all of the following in a mixing glass with ice. 50 mLs of Pensador Mezcal, 25 mLs of vermouth, and 25 mLs of Campari. And then add 2 dashes of chocolate bitters. Stir it all to chill, and then strain into a martini glass. The cocktail bitters plus the mezcal makes a nice change even if you are addicted to your bourbon. You'll find this recipe and all the cocktails of the week on lushlifemanual.com, where you'll also find all the ingredients in our shop. Does anyone really know the definition of the word courtesan? Well, come back next time, and you'll find out how this one word led our guest Hemant Patel Villa to a world of food and drink. Until next time, bottoms up. Thanks for listening to the Lush Life podcast, the sister of A Lush Life Manual. For more information and links to everything you heard, plus a bit more, please visit alushlifemanual.com. Always remember the wise words of Oscar Wilde. All things in moderation, including moderation. And always drink responsibly. Okay, I said that last part. Theme music is by Steven Shapiro and used with permission. Lush Life is produced by Terra, and I'm your hostess, Susan Schwartz. I'll see you at the bar.